Welcome, Fed fam. Today we're going to be talking about FERS eligibility. As you can see, there's 6 different ways an employee can be eligible for federal retirement. What does that look like? We're going to jump into it here. And one of them, there's actually 7 different retirement opportunities for employees, but one's a little bit involuntarily, and we'll talk about that and then what it correlates to within these 6. Okay, so first we have fully eligible. And again, this is for FERS employees only. So this is employees who have been originally hired after 1/1 of 1984. And it doesn't matter if they're under FERS Ray or FERS Frey. For now, FERS eligibility is FERS eligibility no matter when they were hired. If they are in the FERS program, even as a FERS transfer, they will still follow the same eligibility rules, and we'll jump into that in a second. Okay, so fully eligible employees will go out on their MRA, which is their minimum retirement age with 30 years of service, age 60 with 20 years of service, or 62 with 5 years of service. And so this is anybody who is just a regular FERS employee contributing the minimum amount to the system, meaning they're not special provision. Okay, so the MRA though, or minimum retirement age, is for is between 55 and 57, and it is based on the year that somebody was born or the employee was born. So essentially, any employee after 1970, or any employee who is born after 1970 rather, will have an MRA of 57, and that's their minimum retirement age. We will have the full chart for you linked below from OPM so you can see what that will look like. If you have employees who were hired before then, it can be again as early as 56. Most of the time it's 56 in 6 months and 57. It's in between there, but you never know. Some people have been working for a little while. Anyways, as a special provision employee, these are air traffic controllers, firefighters, law enforcement officers, certain customs and border protection officers. Any special provision employee can retire at age 50 with 20 years in a covered position, or any age with 25 years in a covered position. So again, we have to make sure that they've got the mandatory 20 years in, or 25 years, depending on what age the employee is looking at retiring. And there is a mandatory retirement age. So in MRA, but a little bit different. It's not a minimum retirement age for special provision employees. It is a mandatory retirement age of 56 for air traffic controllers and 57 for law enforcement, firefighters, and customs and border protection officers. So keep that in mind. If we are dealing with anybody who is experiencing a DRP right now and they want to voluntarily early retire, agencies are giving a VERA authority, which means that an employee who has 50, or who is age 50 rather, with 20 years of service, or any age with 25 years of service, can retire. But the date of retirement is provided by the agency. And so when we experienced the first DRP, then people were able to leave government service, but they were collecting a paycheck until September 30th of that year. Some it was December 31st, right? It kind of varied depending on the agency and what that offer looked like. The same is true now with the DRP 3.0s that are going out by agency that have been happening since the beginning of this year. Right now, OPM and SBA are the agencies that have most recently been experiencing a VERA. The other thing that employees have been experiencing in addition to VERAs are discontinued service retirements. This is when an employee is involuntarily let go from the agency. This could be due to a transfer of function, reduction in force, relocation of the base for whatever reason for that agency. I say base, but it could be, the building, whatever that looks like, relocation of the home office, if you would. And some people have been experiencing VERAs because of that. In fact, that's what's going on with the DRPs is a reduction in force, but the discontinued service retirements. The rules are the same as a VERA, meaning employees who are age 50 with 20 years or any age with 25 years. The only difference is a VERA is voluntarily and the discontinued service retirement is involuntary. Now, a couple of things to note with the discontinued service retirement. I know I don't have it up here, right? But mainly because it really didn't happen very often, if it did at all, in a given year. But a discontinued service retirement, when somebody experiences that or gets the pink slip from the government and says, guess what, you need to make a decision, then what happens is you cannot turn down a reasonable offer, which means that if they have something within your same pay grade, within a same relocation or same commuting area, then you can't turn down the reasonable offer to be eligible for the discontinued service. And also, you have to not be let go for any misconduct or something like that. So, very key to understand kind of those rules on discontinued service. But if they're like, hey, you need to move across the country, you need to move 2 states away, whatever, right? Then that's excessive. That's not a reasonable offer. And so then you can let them know, like, no, I'll just take my retirement and go. So those are what the rules are for VERA and or discontinued service. Okay, for disability. I know some employees have been really looking at this lately because maybe they're not able to get back in the office for whatever reason. And so what a disability retirement means is that somebody who has had 18 months of service or more can go out on a disability. The agency must be unable to accommodate the disability, any limitations within where you're at, right? So obviously that's not being able to accommodate the disability, but there's a specific role that some employees can occupy where they're trying to. Gosh, the title is right on the tip of my tongue. I'm just not thinking about it right now. Um, where employees can work with somebody within the HR department who can give them reasonable accommodations. That's what it is. I knew it was right there. So the thing is, though, they cannot have any reasonable accommodations for the disability. That's what they're called. And then, of course, the employee must qualify medically, right? They have to have a certain medical condition that qualifies under the OPM rules, and they have to apply for disability within 1 year. Keyword, they have to apply for disability within 1 year. They do not have to receive Social Security disability. They do not have to be approved. They can be denied. It's fine as long as they've applied for it. That's the big kicker here. But then also the earning potential, if they are under the age of 60, needs to be considered because with certain employees, they can only earn up to 80% of what they were earning before, depending on their title and other factors that go into that. And we can give you some more information on that if you are looking at anybody with a disability type of retirement. Okay, the next one is a deferred retirement. What does that mean? Well, that's any age with at least 5 years of service because employees who have at least 5 years of service are vested within the FERS program, meaning that they're eligible for a pension. But naturally, a deferred retirement means that they do not qualify because of their age. So this is somebody who does not meet any of the other age or service year requirements, but they have at least 5 years of service. So for instance, if an employee has 20 years at age 40 because they started out with the government at 20, and then they decide to leave the government and not come back, then they'll be eligible to receive their pension at 60 because they will have qualified being age 60 with 20 years of service. But if we have somebody who has 10 years of service, they'd have to wait till age 62. So it does like kind of fall where they're eligible to receive that pension, but it's called a deferred retirement because they're not immediately able to take their pension. Okay, so this is more for anybody who's under their MRA and has not met at least 10 years or more within the federal government system. Okay, so anybody who again is under their MRA and has not had 10 or more years in the government system will qualify for a deferred pension, but they have to have at least 5, right? So remember that because they have to be vested in the system. So I had a situation recently where we had a female employee who did not or was not covered under the FERS program for the first couple years and then was covered. She only had 3 years in service. She really thought that she was going to be eligible to retire because she thought, well, I have my 5 years. But you have to have 5 years paying into the FERS system. So that's very key. It's not just 5 years as a federal employee, it's 5 years paying into the FERS system. So very, very key there to make sure employees understand that. This is also might be true for postal employees as well. I know sometimes a lot of them will have temporary service or non-deduction service, which is service time where they're not contributing to the retirement system. And so we just want to make sure that we're clear on what that 5 years means for that. With that, the employee with a deferred retirement, employees lose all insurance benefits. So they cannot keep FEHB, they cannot keep FEGLI, they will not get their SRS benefit. Any of those or any and all of those options are gone 30 days after they separate from service. So very key to understand. They also forfeit their sick leave. So if they have a bucket of sick leave, have them use it before they retire because it doesn't stay around to be included in their pension like other types of retirements will allow sick leave to be included in that to boost their pension, not to help eligibility. And then, of course, their pension is delayed, right? So they don't get it right away. They have to wait until the age in which they have, depending on how many years they have, the age of which they're eligible to begin their pension. And then again, no special retirement supplement, right? So they don't get that bridge between, their MRA to 62, which is the MRA is the besides special provision employee, the MRA is the date that all employees receive their benefit. Even if you're going out on a VERA or discontinued service, this is one thing I forgot to mention. Your SRS that may not begin right away, depending on what age you're leaving the government at. So very key to understand that if you're like 55 and you have 20 years of service, you can go out under the VERA rules or discontinued service rules, but you're not going to start your SRS until your minimum retirement age, which if you were born after 1970 is going to be 57. So you might have a gap there of a benefit that you might have thought you were going to receive, but maybe is not going to happen right away. Okay, so back to what we were talking about on deferred retirement. There's no special retirement supplement though. It's not even delayed. Like there's just not going to be a supplement at all. Okay, so for MRA plus 10 employees, let's move on to the final retirement. And this is when somebody has met at least their minimum retirement age with at least 10 years of service. Employees can retire. They actually have different retirement options. But let me be clear, this also is for employees who have less than the 30 years too, right? So if you're over 30 years, like you're good, you're going to fall under the fully eligible rules and you're going to get everything. You're going to get your SRS, your FEGLI, your health insurance, all that is good, right? No harm, no foul. But if you have at least 10 years, but not quite the 30 years, and you're still like, look, I'm out of here, no matter what, you're not under the VERA rules, you're not under the discontinued service, that's completely different. Okay, so MRA plus 10 means that you can still receive your pension immediately. You can leave the government, but there's going to be a reduction. That reduction is 5/12 of 1% per month, which equals a total of 5% per year for each year you are under age 62. So some employees can have 25% or more of a reduction from their pension for retiring before they've met a certain year requirement to get their full pension. So just make sure that we understand that. And there's consequences. MRA plus 10 employees do not qualify for the SRS benefit. So just like deferred retirement, you're not going to get that bridge either. Okay. There is a way that you can keep your FEHB and FEGLI. In fact, you can if you even receive your pension immediately. But there's another type of pension that you can, or another type of retirement, if you would, called a postponed retirement, not deferred. This is a postponed retirement. Means that you've met your MRA, you have at least 10 years of service, but you say, you know what? I don't want to receive my pension right now because I want to wait. I'm going to go to work somewhere else or I'm going to do something else. And I don't need to receive my pension right away because I don't want to take the 25% or more haircut or less, depending on how old you are and what that looks like for you. But if you want to avoid whatever reduction is going to happen to the pension, or I'm sorry, if your employee wants to avoid the reduction to their pension, then they can take a postponed retirement, which means they're going to wait to receive their pension until a later date. This could be age 60 or 62. Or really you're not going to go past 62 because they have had 5 years in service, right? So this could be age 60 or 62 for that employee. And then once the employee picks up their pension, then their benefits will start. Okay, so in the meantime of them leaving the government program and not receiving their pension, they will not have their benefits. About 30 days after that, their benefits will stop. But then when they start picking up their pension, they can get FEGLI, FEHB, federal dental vision, all of that back once they begin collecting that pension. So very key to understand there. But no matter what, even if they delay their pension, they're not going to get the special retirement supplement, period. That's just not in the cards for them. So want to make that clear for you. So that is the 6 retirement eligibility qualifications for FERS employees. Of course, if you have any questions on any case that we can help you with to help you understand this or anything in between. Any advice that you want on service history or creditable service or whatever that looks like for your employee or employee community. If you're going to be working with a number of feds, we can help with that. And just understanding though the key of when they can retire, when they're eligible to retire, understanding the different pieces of service that can be included in that are very, very key. And we're always here to help you with that and making sure that you are fully prepared to work with employees and understanding their eligibility rules. So until next time, thank you so much for joining us. Again, find those links below and we'll be talking with you soon. Have a great day.